All right. What's up, everybody? My people in Manhattan, the Boogie Down Bronx, Queens, all that Staten Island, my home borough, Brooklyn. Back out with another video, and I'm going to say this, and it may be very, very controversial, but I'm going to say it anyway. Lamar Jackson should strongly consider leaving the Baltimore Ravens. Let me explain. Now, this thought came to my head a couple days ago, and over the last several days, I've been doing research to make this video, and looking into it, I think he should consider it. I'm not saying he should just flat out ditch Baltimore after this season, whatever his contract situation is, but he should at least, that thought should come to his head. Now, he shut down that idea like I think several weeks ago. He shut down like, hell nah, I'm staying in Baltimore. This is a false narrative. Whatever, nigga. Look, he could have just been saying that, but I think that thought probably is in his head. But if it isn't, he should strongly consider it. Let me say why. One of the main knocks on Lamar since he came to the National Football League back in 2018 was he's not a very good thrower of the football. I've heard people say he has an ugly release. He's not the most accurate guy in the world, stuff like that. Now, Lamar has a strong arm. Don't get it twisted. I mean, if you've ever seen videos or ever watched games, like Lamar has a very strong arm. Don't get it twisted. But my thing is this. How's he supposed to show and grow he's grown as a passer if he has no weapons? I mean, the only quarterbacks I can think of who were very successful without, superstar receivers were Dan Marino and Brett Favre, and those guys were. Brett Favre probably had the strongest arm in NFL history, and Dan Marino was pinpoint accurate, probably the most accurate quarterback ever. Is Lamar Jackson those guys? Hell no, But everybody else: Peyton Manning, Joe Montana, Steve Young, Brady to a degree. Even the current guys: Pat Mahomes, Joe Burrow. All those guys, Josh Allen, they have number one receivers, true number one receivers. Lamar, again, nothing against the guys he's played with, but he's never really had a true top 10 superstar level wide receiver, high level star receiver. And the Baltimore Ravens have a very poor history of drafting star receivers and acquiring superstar receivers in free agency. I mean, over the last several years, think about the receivers they've had in free agency. They added Sammy Watkins and Michael Crabtree. Like, are you kidding me? Sammy Watkins and Michael Crabtree, those guys are B level at best. Even in their prime, they were probably at the best B level. Okay, Sammy Watkins, I'll say he was at his best. He was probably top 10. But if he was top 10, he was like number 10 or 9. Okay, Crabtree, God bless him. I never considered him a top 10 receiver. Maybe other people did, but that's just me. But Lamar Jackson has no weapons outside. His main weapon is Mark Andrews, and Mark Andrews, of course, is a tight end, first team All-Pro tight end on the way. Congratulations to him. He's a beast, Is he Kelsey or Kittle? No, but if I were to compile a list of the best tight ends in football, he's probably top 5, top 6. Mark Andrews is. But, like I said, Mark Andrews is a tight end, and they mainly work outside. Or, inside, pardon me. He needs weapons, wide receivers on the outside. Now, they drafted this kid, Rashad Bateman, last year, and he was nicked up. I don't think he played a lot last year, He's going to have to show that the Ravens didn't waste a draft pick, a first-round pick on him. But, once again, the Ravens have a very poor history at wide receiver. I'm about to show you in a minute. But Lamar should consider leaving Baltimore. Okay? Now, this is Brandon Stokely. This is who the Ravens drafted in 1999. There is catching a touchdown in the Super Bowl against my New York Giants when the Ravens mollywopped my Giants. This is Qadra Ismail, who I believe they acquired in free agency in 99 or 2000. This is Jermaine Lewis, who they drafted in 1996, that legendary 96 class with Jonathan Ogden and Ray Lewis. By the way, guess who else was available in that draft? Marvin Harrison and Terrell Owens, 2 Hall of Famers, and Marvin's on the All-Century team, along with Ogden and Ray. But this is who they took. That's fine. But the main weapon on that team was, of course, Shannon Sharp, who was the tight end. Now, Shannon's a Hall of Famer, arguably a top 5 tight end of all time, arguably the greatest tight end of all time. But again, that's a tight end. There's only so much damage he can do. He can only do damage on the inside, not so much lining up out wide and, making great plays on the outside. This is Todd Heap, who the Baltimore Ravens drafted in 2001. Now, the Ravens have a good history of acquiring star or superstar level tight ends. Of course, Ozzie Newsome, their general manager for most of their history, is a Hall of Fame tight end. So he knows a great tight end when he sees one. But again, there's only so much damage tight ends can do. Okay, this is Travis Taylor. This is who the Baltimore Ravens drafted in, I believe, 2000. This is Mark Clayton, who they drafted in 2005. And again, nothing personal against these guys. It's not personal, but the Ravens have a poor history of drafting wide receivers. I mean, none of these guys are exactly, in his prime, Julio Jones or Antonio Brown or Odell in his prime. Or current guys, Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, Cooper Kupp, Mr. Get Gritty himself, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, These guys were never that, even in their prime. This is Derrick Mason, who I believe the Ravens acquired in 2005 after being on the Tennessee Titans for so long. Derrick Mason, I mean, he was a very good player. Derrick Mason, by the way, he's the Baltimore Ravens' all-time leading receiver in franchise history. And he has, I think, a little over 5,000 yards. The all-time leading receiver in the history of the Baltimore Ravens has a little over 5,000 yards. Like that, think about that. That's kind of, I don't want to say pathetic, but that shows you how bad they are at getting wide receivers. In 2010, they drafted tight end Dennis Pitta. And in 2010, this is probably the only time the Ravens have acquired a superstar level wide receiver in free agency, Mr. Anquan Bolden, who's a future Hall of Famer. He'll probably get in next year. We'll see. This is Tori Smith, who's probably the best receiver the Ravens ever drafted. Anquan Bolden's probably the best receiver they've ever had overall. Because Anquan, even though he was on the decline, he was still kind of in his prime when he was on the Ravens, but he was coming down the mountain. Tori Smith's probably the best receiver they ever drafted. Of course, this is Jacoby Jones, who was their deep ball threat and their star kick returner on that 2012 Super Bowl team. Jacoby Jones arguably could have got the MVP for that Super Bowl, but that's another story for another day. But this is the receiving core on the 2012 Baltimore Ravens championship team. And they let Anquan Bolden go after the Super Bowl. And Anquan went on to have a very good year in San Francisco. In 2014, they acquired Steve Smith Sr., who was past his prime. So in 2014, the receiving core was Steve Smith, Tori Smith, and Jacoby Jones. And they let Tori and Jacoby walk in free agency. Tori ended up going to San Francisco. Jacoby ended up going to, I believe, San Diego, the Chargers at the time, San Diego Chargers. And in the 2015 draft, they drafted this kid, Rashad Perriman, who didn't even play that season because he tore his Achilles in training camp. And then Steve Smith ended up tearing his Achilles in week 6, I believe, against the Chargers. And he was out for the season. The Ravens in 2015, they were definitely bit by the injury bug. And the leading receiver on the Ravens that year in 2015 ended up being some guy named Kamar Aiken. Are you kidding? Again, nothing personal, but they have a very bad history at wide receiver. The best receiver they ever drafted, they let him walk for whatever reason. Maybe because they didn't want to pay him the big bucks. I don't know. Hey, sometimes you got to spend money. I hope the Ravens don't receive a shot. He understands that. They let Anquan Bolden go, and they got Steve Smith past his prime. Now, Jarvis Landry, to my knowledge, is still available. Julio Jones is still available. They should go after one of those guys, preferably Jarvis Landry, because I think Julio has some hamstring problem. He has a history of a nicked up hamstring. I don't know. But anyway, back to Lamar Jackson. If Lamar Jackson were to leave the Baltimore Ravens, where would he go? Now, I thought about the Miami Dolphins. I thought about that. They got the kid Jalen Waddle, who I like a lot, and Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill, of course, we know Tyreek Hill's a cheetah. He was arguably the best receiver in the NFL 2019, 2020. Yeah, I said it. I said it's arguably. But Tyreek Hill, they got Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. They got the new head coach and remember, the Dolphins are the team who kind of stunned the Baltimore Ravens last season. The Dolphins were 1-7 or something like that. And Brian Flores and his Miami team, they just swarmed Lamar the whole game and defeated them in Miami. And I remember watching that game wow, really? Damn. But the reason they swarmed Lamar is because they didn't want him running and escaping and doing all that, Michael Vick in his prime type shit. They wanted him to throw the ball. And no offense, but he had any real weapons out there. None against Hollywood Brown. He's a very good receiver, but he's not Jalen Waddle. He's not Tyreek Hill. Okay, but the Dolphins were a team I thought of, but then I thought about another team he could possibly go to. And that's the Atlanta Falcons. Of course, Lamar Jackson looked up to Michael Vick and Atlanta, they have a very good young receiving core. Of course, they got Calvin Ridley, who's going to be gone for the year because of suspension, but he'll be back. And Calvin Ridley, he had a very, very good year in 2020. Very good year. Now, he took last year off because he had some mental health issue. All these guys with that mental health shit, it's starting to get on my nerves. But they have Calvin Ridley. They have Kyle Pitts, who's a freak tight end. And they just drafted this kid, Drake London, who I liked a lot at SC, and he's going to be And he's gonna have a big duty this year. He might win Offensive Rookie of the Year because of course Calvin Ridley's gonna be out most of the year, so Drake London's probably automatically gonna be the number one receiver. And then the offseason they re-signed Cordell Patterson. They acquired Casey Hayward Jr. as corner, and they got Damian Williams as a running back. The Falcons are a team on the rise. If they can add a few more pieces to their defense, their offensive line, and if they by some miracle get Lamar Jackson, they might become a Super Bowl contender team. And I'm not joking when I say that. I mean, Lamar Jackson with, Damian Williams or whoever the running back would be, with Calvin Ridley when he comes back and Drake London out wide. And then, of course, Kyle Pitts. Of course, you need that tight end to work on the inside and move the chains. And then if they get a solid defense, like the Falcons might become a Super Bowl contending team. Will they automatically win it? I'm not saying that, but they would become contenders, okay? Especially once Tom Brady retires. I think Brady might play one more season and that'll be it for him. But back to what I was saying about Lamar, I think Lamar should strongly consider leaving Baltimore. The destination teams, Atlanta, Miami, the other teams will probably are needing a quarterback. Now, hey, once Tom Brady retires, he can take his ass to Tampa. That just came into my head. But tell me what you guys think down below. Once again, Lamar tried to deny it, but I think that thought is in his head. And if it isn't in his head, it probably should be. But what do you guys think? Click the like button, subscribe. Hey, Young Brother, go on YouTube. I'm going to see you all.